What common NSFW practices surprise most people? I have stood on spinny office chairs far more times than I should have. People behaving as functional alcoholics in the workplace. I know guys that run out to the truck to smash a beer on the job. Repeatedly. This is so common that there's a Pokemon that evolves from a sober construction worker to a functioning alcoholic construction worker. In that universe, it taught humans how to use concrete. There are stories told in Groton about shipyard workers with designated bar seats that would run from electric boat to the bar at lunch, down the multiple shots they'd prearranged to have lined up as regulars, and then run back to the shipyard to keep building nuclear submarines. People putting their hands into moving machinery that has pinch and crush warnings all over it. Yes, this happened at work last week. I was consulting at a factory in Indiana and got to know their safety guy. I wasn't there specifically to support safety, but I was friendly with him. They'd had a small increase in hand injuries, so he brought in a selection of gloves for different tasks, available at different locations around the plant. They had big meetings saying what different gloves were good for, what tasks to use them for, and of course, as everyone in industry knows, never to wear gloves around rotating equipment. Sure enough, within a week, someone had wrapped their hand around a threading machine, and they fired the safety guy. Had a guy wearing heavy gloves working a coil machine, and his hand or glove got stuck in between the 1/4-inch bar stock and the coilier, and we watched his hand spin around twice before a guy slapped the all-stop button on the wall. Never saw him again. This guy's is still in one piece, barely, but is badly mangled. Ours lost his at the joint. 1.5 thumbs up is the best rating he can give now. My hand got once pinched in the mechanism that locks containers into place in the back of the garbage truck. That shit crushed my hand between tons of pressure. For some miracle, I got it intact out without any permanent damage. My boss Onv told me, never put your fingers where you wouldn't put your dick. So OP, I guess no masturbation today, because the post didn't go as planned. Wait, why are we getting a review on OSHA? Are they planning to visit soon? It's like the what would you like to try more of in bed post with 1,000+ answers of sleep, and one of, I wish I had my dog back. I miss him jumping into bed to sleep next to me. This could be the most by definition NSFW thing I've ever read. Holy fuck, no wonder I was so confused by the top comments. I was trying to figure out what it was about all of these unsafe work-related answers that had to do with anything of a sexual nature. Completely forgetting the literal definition of NSFW, lol. I too was expecting some stories of conference room indecency. Every company that develops software has a test environment. Some companies are lucky enough to have a separate production environment. Dev local testing, SDG, integration, E2E, pre-prod, more E2E, sometimes UAT, prod, oh shit, it does not work. Prod, oh shit, it does not work. Looks like a conflict with package. Why does it work in stage? Stage doesn't have that package installed. Why is it installed in prod? Dev doesn't manage the production servers. I asked Claude, and it thinks the issue is not the issue at all. 20+ years QA reporting in. I put a hard stop to that years ago. Caused a 6-hour product outage that pissed off one of our major customers. Had a QA environment for that product 2 days later. 4 feet in a non-new construction setting like a working factory. I've been to jobs where it's 6 feet in one room and 4 feet on the other side of the wall. That's the best part. Sometimes you have to bring a scissor lift in to tie off to the I-beams or such 30 above and run a retractable or such that far down to do your work off a 6-foot ladder. I always get a chuckle for this. I'm on a 10 ladder in the middle of a room with no harness, but the guy in the scissor lift with a railing has to wear a harness. I get why the requirements are there, but some examples are just funny to see in practice. 50% closed means 50% less likely to get sparks in your eyeballs. I've been watching Port Protection Alaska. While I love the show, so many safety squints. Man, if you can actually get a welder shipped to you, and you can power an angle grinder, or you can definitely get some safety glasses. Using a knife without a cut-resistant glove, on the other hand. I've been working with razor-sharp knives for 31 years. Have drawn blood 4 times. Every time was a poke through a cut glove. Every one would have been worse without the glove, though. So, When I did Loto training, they discussed an operator who came back from vacation to a plant that had come off outage. In the outage, they had made a change and had left some equipment locked out because it would result in placing the plant in a state that was no longer acceptable. This guy thought that the plant was underperforming, so he bolt-cuttered the Loto off and closed in the Lotoed equipment. He started a fire, and also the 480-volt LV switchgear breaker had an arc flash incident as he manually closed it. The breaker was ejected from the gear and smashed his chest in. So this is the correct answer. I worked in oil and gas. Cutting off a Loto lock was an immediate termination for safety violation. Worked at a steel mill. Even the union said, "You cut a lock, you're gone." They had one guy forget his lock and drive 3 hours to the beach. They made him immediately come back or stay gone. This was pre-cell phone days. Plant shut down for almost 6 hours because he forgot. He was lucky to keep his job. My place has a procedure for removing someone else's lock. There's a form, an inspection, and upper managers have to sign off on it. But it can be done. Easier to just remember to change tags at shift change. Same with ours, and if you lost the key to your own lock that was on equipment, they get you to cut your own lock off at the end of the task/shift with more paperwork, as you can imagine. I work power utilities, and it's an immediate termination for us. In fact, I work nuclear, and I can't imagine a nuclear operator doing this, even with a gun to their head. Right? Like, I have a very healthy sense of self-preservation. I'd rather get yelled at by my boss than violate safety procedures. Especially if radiation is involved. Like, yeah, go ahead and shoot me. Beats the natural consequences of breaking the rules. My dad works in a factory, and every 5 years or so he has a story about some poor fuck having his arm degloved or getting himself crushed or something. The plant he works at has a great safety record, but, well, he's been there like 25 years, so even rare things have come up on occasion. It's why I don't work in a factory. I'd rather be homeless because I don't have great attention to detail and would absolutely make a big mistake someday. Oh, factory stuff. I've seen that done too. I've seen safety lasers defeated with pocket mirrors and a pilled-up employee lose a hand. I'm pretty sure a major Loto violation, such as cutting a lock without filling out a mountain of paperwork and involving all management and safety personnel, is an automatic termination in just about any industry. It damn sure is in the steel-making industry. Had a guy cut a lock in a 35 kV switchgear, went inside the locker as they call it, and when he did whatever he did, it arc flashed, shocked him. Dude was insanely lucky. All he got was burn on the right ass cheek and blew out his right calf where it exited. I can't give any more details than that. Same here. Work in aerospace. Zero tolerance for fucking around with Loto. And I'm fine with that. If you're willing to bypass it, I don't want to work anywhere near you since it's a hazard to my safety. We have a friend who was an electrician, did a Loto. From what I got of the story, he was working changing a light or heater fixture while being in a ladder. Some dude goes to the panel and remove the breaker, lockout turns the breaker on. Our friend got zapped and fell off the ladder onto his head, broke his neck and got some brain damage. The guy who removed the breaker is in jail for 5 years. I thought that these couldn't be removed without the key from the person that put the lock on in the first place, or at least not removed without force. No, maybe I'm misremembering, as it has been a long time since I have had to use a Loto. Loto also means tag out only at certain scenarios, such as when you can't physically lock out. Even when there is a lock, sometimes it's just plastic, either for short spark concerns or just because they're cheaper. Security isn't the main concern. 99% of the time, the only people who have access to it are your coworkers anyway. It's just there as a physical barrier and reminder to not turn the equipment on or whatever. The breaker ones, you can pry off. It's like a clip you put over the breaker, talking about breakers like the ones in your house. It's not really idiot-proof. Guy got killed doing this here. Doing weekend electrical work, and someone showed up to work on the weekend, saw the power was out, didn't think to call the building manager who would have told them about the work, which was the process, and went straight to the electrical breakers, which had a big sign printed saying, "Never fucking touch this without calling building manager first." saw a tag on the breaker and cut it off, flipped it. Sparky doing the work was immediately exposed to about 400 volts and was extremely dead. Idiot went to prison and regulations banning plastic tags were in place. Now everyone has to use the padlock-style ones. I don't know what any of this means, but it sounds painful and dangerous. A guy ignored safety regulations, and the universe kindly reminded his coworkers why they exist. A large circuit breaker that sends power to a big electrical cabinet was locked and had a warning put on it because it was broken, and shutting the breaker would make it explode. Some guy ignored the warning tag, cut off the lock, and shut the breaker, causing a fire and an explosion that ejected the breaker, several 100 pounds probably, out of the cabinet and onto himself. Basically, somebody must have accidentally locked this sandwich in the poison do not eat safe. I'll just crack it open and eat that sandwich. Lockout tag out is a safety practice where equipment is being serviced or, as in this example, is unfit for use. To prevent it being powered on while being worked on, the power source, usually a breaker, is turned off and a lock is closed on the switch that prevents it from being turned on. The lock usually has a tag with the contact info for the holder of the only key for the lock. There may be multiple locks, each with their own holder. If someone wants to use the equipment and finds it locked out, they contact the responsible parties to confirm if it's safe to do so. Each responsible person personally unlocks their lock. Cutting a lock out is unbelievably stupid. That said, a better practice when equipment is unusable is to make it impossible to turn it on or remove it entirely, obviously difficult for large equipment.